The Knicks and Spurs will face off in the 2026 NBA Finals. I am Coy Camiscioli from Philly Sports Talk. It's been a little while. It's the annual Sixers season-ending loss that kind of just sends me into hibernation for a little bit. And I just, every year when that happens, it just kind of just takes the love out of podcasting for me. But I'm back. I'm getting back into it. I'm going to have a Sixers one coming out soon and some other stuff. But this is an NBA Finals podcast, so I won't talk about that. Spurs versus Knicks solely. Going to preview the series and give my predictions. I think this is going to be a great series. I think, well, first off, I'm glad that San Antonio ended up beating the Thunder. They were down 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals. They were able to come back and win that series. I honestly just thought they were the better team, and they kind of proved that in the regular season against the Thunder all year long. They kind of just had their number. The Thunder did have multiple series leads in the conference finals, and I still just thought that San Antonio was the better team. And they kind of just showed that the regular season was not a fluke and that they were legit this entire year. So I do think San Antonio is a better team than the New York Knicks, but at the same time, the Knicks are well rested. They just cruise through the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. Now, granted, the East compared to the West is, night and day. I think the East is just absolutely rancid. The Knicks, they won in 6 against the Atlanta Hawks in the first round. They swept the Sixers. They swept the Cavaliers. Honestly, I think there's like 5 teams in the West that could have put up a better fight than those 3 teams that the Knicks had to beat. And that's not a knock on them. You've got to beat the teams you have to beat. It doesn't matter how you get there. I'm just saying that since they played so few games, they should be really well rested. Honestly, maybe too rested. But they should be ready to go for a full 7-game series against the San Antonio Spurs, as the Spurs, kind of went to war the last couple of series, going in 6 games in the second round and obviously 7 in the Western Conference Finals. But truthfully, I think there's 4 to 5 teams in the West. You already count the Spurs, the Thunder. I think that would be top 2 seeds in the East, no doubt. I think the Nuggets, Timberwolves, honestly, even a healthy Lakers maybe. I just think the East is such a joke. I think all those teams could have beat the Cavaliers to get to the NBA Finals. But again, nothing to take away from the New York Knicks. I'm really not trying to make this sound like they're a bad team. They're a really good team, and I could see this series going either way. In the regular season, they split their 2 matchups. One was a really close game. The other one, the Knicks kind of blew them out. Going into the series, it looks like it's going to be a rebounding advantage for the Knicks, but at the same time, I just don't see how Karl-Anthony Towns or Mitchell Robinson's going to be able to stop Victor Wembanyama. Now, obviously, that's something that not really anybody can do, and obviously we saw Chet Holmgren kind of fall apart last series for the Thunder. He couldn't do it. Nobody can really do it. But I just think that the Spurs are just a little bit of a better team. At the same time, I do like the Knicks. Listen, as much as I hate the Knicks because I'm a Sixers fan, the grit they bring to every single game, especially in the playoffs, is just unmatched. I respect the hell out of it. As much as I hate them, I'm not a Jalen Brunson fan, but I respect the hell out of that team. And I honestly think they could handle any task that they're given in this upcoming series. Now, at the same time, I think they're going to have trouble against the guard depth of the Spurs with, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, some really good players there, some decent or really good wing players in Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. You got some really good players for the San Antonio Spurs that I just think when it's all said and done, I think this series goes at least 6, but I'm leaning towards San Antonio is what I'm kind of getting at here. Now, at the same time, the Knicks have good defense. They have good defenders, Noji Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges is a solid wing player. He might be one of their X factors this series. He needs to get a shot going on. It's really going to come down to, I think, Towns. That's what I think the series is going to come down to, because they just got to be able to limit Wemby. If they can limit Wemby, and we're going to see all different kinds of defensive packages. We're going to see 2 guys on him. We're going to see 3 guys on him. We might see just Towns try to guard him straight up. Maybe he'll have a couple good possessions like that. But that's what it's going to come down to. Victor Wembanyama is the best player in this basketball series. It's not a diss of Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's really damn good, but he's not Victor Wembanyama. So I think it's going to be a close series. but I do think I think this series is going to go seven. I really do. I had the San Antonio Spurs winning this in 7 games, which would be just absolutely electric. Obviously, we got a 7 game series in last year's NBA Finals, even though Tyrese Halliburton got hurt in that first quarter. But I do think this goes another 7 games. I don't see a world where this goes under 6. So I think we're in store for a pretty good series, a pretty good back and forth series. There might be, both these teams are capable of winning games in blowout fashion. Obviously, we saw the Knicks do it a lot en route to the NBA Finals. I don't think that's going to happen in this series. I think both these teams are going to be even dead on with each other, and I don't think we're going to see that. Maybe we see that one game, but I don't think it's going to be like last year's NBA Finals, where like a lot of the games actually were just blowouts, and it still was just a really good series because both teams were winning, but it was in blowout fashion for both teams. So, but that's going to do it, guys. I had the San Antonio Spurs winning this series in 7 games. I'll be back soon for you Philly fans. I'm going to recap the A.J. Brown trade, Eagles draft, schedule release, and my end of season thoughts for the Sixers. So sorry it's been a little while. Had to get back into it.